Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I am your humble host, Mr. David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers. And I greet you all with the love and the honor of the infinite creator. And I continue to pray that each and every day, each and every one of you will learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom from the universe. Um, I'm going to say right out front that this is probably going to be a very difficult video for me to do. But with the grace of the angels and the universe, it needs to be said. And I seem to be a little late. Now, Brian B. of Milky Way Messenger, uh, Brian Barnett, passed recently, and I just recently found out, just the other day. So for the last 2 days, I've been in meditation and thought and etc. Now, to be, in full disclosure, I haven't seen any other videos or anything about Brian. Or, I understand that Wayne may have done something, but if you want to say that this is my tribute, this is going to be one of them. Now, I've thought a lot about how long I've known Brian, and he was one of my first subscribers. And he and I go back a ways. And there are things that we've discussed before and after shows. And I honestly thought in my heart that we would meet personally in this 3D reality. And I was going to be able to take him and throw him in a kayak or a canoe, and we were going to go get on the water somewhere. And apparently that's not going to happen in this life. Okay. Why do I consider him a hero? Just to sort of, it's because of the things we discussed prompted him spiritually to start his own channel, to start speaking out, to seek and share the knowledge that he was learning and bringing in. Much as myself, it's not about me, but it is about what can I share that will help somebody else to, I guess in a way, die an honorable death. Now, you say honorable, what do you mean? Yeah, well, I'm going to be flip-flopping back around. But honorable. Now, we all know that we're at war with the dark side, the light side. There's a lot of stuff going on. Some of it is physically manifesting itself. We can see it. It's tangible. We can taste it. We can feel it. At times it's overwhelming. And through it all, Brian and myself, and I'm proud to have known him, even if it's only in this medium. And I really didn't want to do this right now. I didn't feel like I had the heart, but I've been meditating on this for a while, and it just seems like this needs to be done right now. I need to get it out. Okay, but his quest for knowledge of the spirit and opening up his heart and his mind, be the frequency you want to be, says a lot. It's basically says it all. Because when we change our frequency, we're able to see other things and understand more things, accept things, guess where, from the Milky Way. Now, I went outside to look at the stars as I normally do of an evening, and I stood outside while the dog ran around, chased the cats, and looked up at the Milky Way. And knowing our friend is there, tangibly, I can feel it, I can sense it, like I've sensed other people that I've known over many years, family members, so forth. So why do I say that he died honorably? Because in this war of good and evil, he took the side of righteousness, trust, truth in all things, sharing, and what more honorable way to be? In our discussions, online and behind the scenes, we discussed many things, most of them the topics of what we discussed when he interviewed me and had me on the show. And there were many times when there was a guest or something, he'd go, why didn't you say something? Why didn't you jump in more? And it's like, because y'all have heard me. I do have my own channel. I speak my own opinion and I will discuss things. But it's about other people waking up and sharing. So I wanted other people to I just wanted to just step aside and say, okay, everybody sort of woke up now. It's time for you all people to speak. And Brian was doing that in an honorable way and having many women, mixed groups. I mean, just in a way that to me was honorable. Okay. Now I see you, Michelle and Teresa. I'm going to try not to read. Okay. I'm having difficulty with this one. I've stood before 1,500 people, and doing this video is harder than standing in front of 1,500 people live and in color. So in my contemplation the last couple of days, and not meditating on Brian, but just allowing it to come, it's that we must continue on and we've got to be strong because we're all going to make the passage. I think one of the things that gets me is that I kind of figured I'd be dead by now. Not to be morbid or anything, but I've had my chance a few times. Excuse me, but this is live and in color, so I think that someone younger than me is just starting to open up and really get it and really see it, and have for the last 2 years or so, or I don't know how much time has been by. But for the fact that he and myself have been trying to share the knowledge of the universe as much as we possibly can in tangible ways that you can understand without a lot of gobbledygook, and to try to be as honest as we can. And if we find something that we've missed or we're wrong, we're to be honorable people, we must speak the truth. So even if we were wrong or misspoken on stuff, we've gone back and said, hey, we might have been wrong about this. But to the point, though, it's always been about the truth, the hidden truth, the knowledge that's right there for each of us. Some people will call it the Akashic Record. And I mentioned this back a ways, and I think I need to come back in and cover some of these areas again and do like a refresher. Because I was asking Brian in my thoughts, I miss you already, but you're not gone. So what do I do, brother? And he said, continue on. Well, like I'm going to stop, but I was seriously thinking about just not being on very much and whatever. And what good am I doing? What do I have anything good to say? Is there, am I repeating myself? And as things change, and as I see the world morphing into God knows what it is, I think to Brian and others that I've known, but he's my hero because he stuck at it. He went for it. You know what I mean? Rather than just try to skim around, he planned nights. He invited people in. He shared, and in that what at the forefront of this war against the bad guys. What honorable way. I mean, he could have been standing front line with a sword and shield in bloody battle. You understand? Because this battle is bloody on many, 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 many levels, which he's understanding. That was like, he sort of had I can't necessarily say that I'm channeling Brian right now, but it kind of feels like he's in the room. Man, this is hard. Let me tell you, he's my hero because he made a point. Regardless of naysayers, regardless of whatever, regardless of negativism, be the frequency you want to be. It was always, and we talked about this online and off, off camera, as it were, in that I continued to tell him, as I continued to tell y'all, rather than focus on the bad, we got to notice it, we got to see it, but we got to be able to put a positive spin on this. Yeah, it's for crap right now, but so what about these people in the past who had it for crap? What about these people? It may seem bad to us, but we can always look at the brighter side of something. I've talked about my time in jail. It could have been a lot worse, and I didn't have to bend over for anybody, but I made a choice in that to be respectful, and I made a choice, and it worked out for my benefit. It could have worked out for somebody else. But if your attitude is wrong, no matter what you do. So Brian's attitude was heroic because he invited other people in. He invited other people to give their point of view, their thoughts, and so forth. That's why a lot of times I like to read the chat, because I consider you all my family. I do. And it's amazing that how much, for a person I never met in person, other than just over the internet, Brian was my brother, and he said so to me many times. Not to try to me and Brian, but he and I had a sense of something. And not to blow my own horn, he said it in his videos that when we were live, that he was one of my first subscribers, and he was. And in that, we've been friends. And so he was always seeking knowledge. And there were times, and if you go back in some of the videos, I hope his channel stays up. But where he would go to ask a question, and I'd interrupt him and talk about what it was. And we didn't rehearse much. A few minutes before we went live, we discussed certain topics, sort of like bullet points or an outline, and that how we would discuss it and watch the chat. And then, so as much as sometimes as he didn't feel like it, or he wasn't, he's like, man, I'm just tired. I'm bummed out. My back hurts, he said, but we're going to do this. And I was like, there were times when I just wasn't, my head was a little wobbly, and I'm like, yeah, we're going to do this. We said we're going to do it. We're going to channel our energy from the universe, and we're going to go do this video. And when we got done, we always felt better because we got to interact with you folk. Slightly Slanted Slew, I see you're there. I'm not gonna read the chat right now. Okay, I just can't. But I love you all. Thank you. So, how everybody else's view of Brian may be or whatever, it's not up for argument to me. Because in this war of good and evil, he was one of the good guys. He still is. But of all the things, I've talked about it a lot. We've got to have faith. And some friends of mine came to see me today and we had a little visit. And I said, one day we're here and one day we're not. And I'm not trying to be morbid or whatever, excuse me, or being depressed about this or whatever. But we must live every moment as it's our last, because none of us know when it is our time. I figured I'd have went long before Brian did, and he would carry on the messenger. And, maybe I started a tradition and got in, and he told me personally that, and that's my job here, is to instigate a thought in your head for you to think about it, not for you to say, well, Dave's right about this. It's about you thinking about opening up your mind. Maybe this is true. Maybe this could be possible. Maybe. Hey, Amanda, love you too. I love y'all. I do. Yesterday, I had to sit down and do a good cry. But now I know why I was so distracted last week, because there was something in the cosmos that was affecting me. I was depressed. I was crying. I didn't know why. And then y'all tell me the other night that about Brian, right? So I kind of went back to a week ago or so when all this was going on, and relating it to my inner feelings. Like, wow, I felt a loss, man. I didn't know where it come from. I thought it was like somebody had died. And, and I went through my thought process of what I was feeling last week. Why was I feeling that? Because I was going through it at the time, right? That's why I did a video the other day about depression. Are we obsessed with, addicted to being depressed? And it is an addiction. But to move on with that, I thought, and so I'm going down my list of things, and what in the world could cause me to have such cosmic heartache? And then I learned about Brian. Oh, so that's why I was having the thoughts about Brian that I was. I was like, I got to get in touch with him. And I had not being on the computer much, just checking the weather and a couple of things, and what's the human like, and just a couple of things, and basically just there's so much garbage out there with this 19 stuff and everything, and this being that, and the Black Lives Matter, and I've given my opinion on that, and it's like, why rehash those old topics? So I was in my own metamorphosis, if you will, about I need to go back to speaking about the spiritual things again. And before I knew about Brian, okay? So I'm going through this and I'm getting my own little downloads, if you will, and what's going to come up here. And it's summertime and hot outside, and I can't do much when it's 94 degrees outside and 104, degree with the, feels like temperature outside. And no, that's going to kill me, damn near it did tried a few years ago. But anyway, and oh, please, if you start to feel a little sick-headed when you're outside in the sun or whatever, stop whatever you're doing. Do not let it go any further, my friends. Heat stroke is nasty. And as you get older, it compounds itself. It's horrible. So if you feel like it or whatever, stop what you're doing, cool down, get some water, hydrate, but don't keep going because, well, it's cumulative anyway. So I've discussed over the many years about honor and what honor means to me. You keep a promise, you make a promise, you try to do what you can, or you live your life in an honorable way. So in my dealings with Brian, now I don't know about his personal life and ain't none of my business, but I knew enough about, his father committing suicide, I believe, and, and all the stuff that went with that. And we've all had tragedies that we've had to deal with in one way or another. And if some of us haven't had tragedies, trust me, they will come. It may not just have come into your lifetime, because, even in my life, there's been periods when nobody's dying, nobody's are sick, things are kind of rolling along pretty good. And then all of a sudden it's like boom, 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 boom. What the hell? So, I've discussed my sister up in Ohio. She has cancer, and I need to call her tomorrow and have a conversation and touch base. She's the youngest of the family. And I think to myself that, she's in Ohio and I'm down here. I would love to go see him, but how am I going to get there? I don't drive much, and, and she can't get out, and there's all this stuff going on. And I wouldn't take a plane if you paid me right now. So it's like, no, not because of the air traffic, but I've been in airplanes and they're stuffy and nasty and people. I just ain't getting on one of them. And, Greyhound bus, I don't think so. But anyway, but the idea though, that they might not be around, right now, my sister's doing okie dokie. I've got a friend a few miles down the road who is recovering from cancer. He's younger than I am. And I think to myself, it could be any one of us at any time. So are we telling each other enough? I love you, man, or woman, or person. I love you. I seriously do. I love you for who you are. Even though you may be a little cranky and crazy at times, I still love you. Especially those people who are trying to be honorable. And Brian, in my opinion, is my hero and will be for a while because he stuck to it. He put effort into it. He put effort into bringing light into the darkness. And he did it, now, metaphorically speaking. I'm on the front line in a lot of ways. And I had to come to grips with it. It doesn't matter. If spiritually you get psychically attacked, I'm going to deal with it when it comes. I'm going to ask the creator and the spirits, to protect me. If my message is that important, or if my having conversation with y'all, or being here a couple of nights a week, and let's just have time together and share, which was one of the things that Brian and I had talked about, in that, our weekly get-togethers and things. It was more that we got a chance to, all of us, to get together. And it was a way to just share things. That it wasn't so much about putting up a particular message, although there's always something to try to, speak to the positive, or, hey, watch out for this or that. And so it's been a pleasure and an honor for me to have known Brian in this reality, which in a way was only virtual. I feel like he's sitting in the room with me right now. Right now I'm weak. You know me, it doesn't make any sense to try to hide it or lie about it. But he's telling me, Dave, be strong. My time's coming, but I wonder, why take an old man like me, he's more vibrant and more, and he's searching, and he's why not take an old coot like me and let somebody younger come in? And he was taken instead. So I had a conversation with a person the other night, and I had to reinvest my own thoughts as to, I'm being selfish because I don't do enough videos. I go, nobody wants to hang out with me. Nobody wants to hear my bullshit. I'm on this or I'm on that. Brian's got it covered. All these other people are waking up, and all these other people are talking. And I realized the other night, and thank you for the person who spoke to me, that I mean more than I realize to you folk by having conversation and by having a forum. And you all know me, I don't do this for myself. I do it because I think we all need to learn and we all need to share. And this community has been great. Brian and I would sometimes, after a show, just say, can you believe how many people there were and how many people are interacting? And to both of us, I can tell you that it swelled our hearts and our beings to where we wanted to keep going. But as I saw things transition, like I said earlier, some come back on slightly slanted, Amanda B. I ain't going to read your comments, please. I can't do it right now. Mary Winds, blessings. Aurora Rain. Al, how are you? Michelle, see if I missed anybody. I'm going to scroll back up here for a second. Slightly slanted, Amanda B. Okay, I think I got everybody. Aurora Rain. All right, Teresa. So Teresa says he walked with us to help us. Yes, he's still walking with us. I swear, I can't put my finger on it, and I can't absolutely say he's here for positively, but it just feels like he's right here, right now. And he says, be strong, because it is all about frequency. And he's passed before us. I've been on the edge so many times. Hey, truth in me. God bless you all. You put up with me at other times, and right now, if I'm blowing my nose, I'm my apologies, but I really didn't want to do this tonight. I wanted to compose myself better and be a little bit more together, but Brian's been kicking me in the shins going, no, you're going to go on live, and if you cry, nobody's going to give a shit. And I'm going to okay, that's okay. Because it shows my love for you, for Brian. And it's sad I didn't get a chance to go to Arkansas because, one of the reasons why I got that trailer and I got all the kayaks and all the camping gear and everything on it loaded right now was because I thought we were going to go to Arkansas. And we haven't been able to make that trip yet. But knowing him, at least in the brief way that I knew him, and of the things that, he had done a lot of acid and mushrooms and stuff. And, and when you've tripped as much as we have had, I have, he did, there's a certain sense of reality that's different, If you've never been on a trip with mushrooms or acid, then you don't know what we're talking about. And it's not to be belittling to anyone or that you should run out and try it. No, but the amount of times that we were high, stoned, and otherwise incapacitated, there is a reality that you see there's something else in the universe where someone who is not tripped hasn't had a glimpse of. And again, I am not encouraging anyone to go out and do any kind of hallucinogenic. But if you haven't, then you don't quite understand what we knew just because we talked about our being high together, or not together, but being high separately together in the universe anyway. So Brian and I had a connection. Just there was a baseline, if you will. And by his listening to me and other folks, we would talk about, how some of our gurus that we had put faith in and listened to were continuing to regurgitate the same things. And that we wanted together, separately, we wanted to stay away from that. We didn't want to regurgitate the same things. We didn't want to go back over the thing and the stuff. And, and we knew who we were talking about. And we both agreed separately, but together. And it was like, no, we're going to try to take this in a different tone. Which whether we succeeded or not is up to y'all. But with the outpouring of y'all and your love and your caring and everything, I just know that he made an impact. He made an impact with me. He continued to give me courage when there were times when, Brian, I ain't got nothing to say. Oh, yeah, I know there's something in there, Dave, And sure enough, we'd pull something out. Or he'd call me and go, look, I scheduled a show tonight, but I can't get in touch with such and such. Will you go on? Yeah, what do you want to talk about? I don't know. We'll figure it out. And in that, much like tonight, at this time in the morning, 12:56. Okay, it's almost 1 o'clock Eastern Daylight. It was like, but it's in the middle of the night. I don't know who's going to be up. Well, it's Saturday. Yeah, okay, do this. And somebody can watch it later. because I didn't know how long he was going to hang around with me, I reckon. But with that though, of all the things that I consider honorable. Now, like I said, I didn't know anything about his personal life or anything like that, other than what we discussed. But what we discussed was enough that I understood that any mistakes that he had made in the past. Hey, Miss Delaney, I just seen you. Rebecca, blessings to you. Robert V, hi, how are you? Mary Wins, I think I said hi. Truth in Me, greetings and blessings always. Thank you. But that it was the continuance of in search of the truth for the soul. That was we are all members of the League of Like-Minded Beings, whether we like it or not, is how we participate in the issue. And I believe in my heart of hearts and in my soul, and just because he's sitting here next to me, he knows I'm not trying to butter him up, but that he is my hero. And he apparently he went before us for a reason. None of us know what that is until you get there, but the mission is important, whether in this 3D body or whether he in the spiritual body, like with Brian is. And so he says, I know whether you believe me or not. He says he's only a thought away. And I have mentioned that at times, especially right now before he really transcends. He's in a holding pattern. You can't just go right up the ladder. You got to get your feet wet and learn. He says it is much like I've said in the past about none of us just go right into fourth. We got to learn how to we got to get our feet wet. It's like the kiddie pool at a big swimming pool. You just don't go jump off the 10-foot diving board into the deep end. That don't happen. You'll drown, you go crazy, So what he's saying is that he's playing in the baby pool right now to learn what this new dimension and the feeling is, and you got to get used to it. It's shock. Yeah, it's a culture shock. It's like, jumping into ice water, that will shock you, stop your heart. Not intended. He says, don't worry about it. But anyway, the idea though that does our life matter? It's not so much important. Now I'm getting information. It's not so much important that you have to make sure that your life is right, because how else can, if you try to help somebody else out, but you don't have your own stuff together, it's a good chance you'll fail or somebody's going to get hurt during the thing or whatever. But the idea though, that what is most important is that we make sure that our frequency, our souls, our spirit is of the right nature and energy to make the transition, because we're all going to have to wade around in the kiddie pool to learn how to, to swim in the 4D. It's not just, and he's agreeing with me, it's not like some people try to explain. You just don't jump in. You must take it a little at the time so that you can become a good swimmer, so you can learn how to hold your breath and stand. I'm using the reference of a swimming pool, but it's one of the easiest things to for us to imagine in ourselves. And in 4D, with the spirit being, you are floating in that sense. So, right, he says that's a good analogy in the floating issue, because he's floating around and this is odd. And if you've ever done any astral projection and you don't feel anything and you're kind of walking around and you're there, the dream world kind of thing, yeah, that's what he's agreeing with me. I love you, man. And I know I'm sitting here talking to him, and whether or not you all believe me, it's okay. But just know that the things that we have discussed, and I will continue to discuss, because one of the things he kind of kicked my ass with yesterday was like, why did you go dark? And I was like, well, people, don't have time for me. I'm always rambling on about some kind of crap and this and that. And he goes, no, but so he kicked my butt yesterday with that. And I tried to do a video yesterday, and that just didn't work. It was too early. And he didn't have time to like sit around and chat with me. But this evening I tried to get on and was going to do this video earlier. And then I just start getting nudged, and it was like, you're going to do this, Hawkeye. And I'm like, but I don't want to. And so here I am. But there are many things that the explanation from the other side is, whether I do feel it's Brian. It feels like he's got his hand on my shoulder. That we got to keep on keeping on, and that I have to continue to trust the universe, because there are a lot of times when I'm like, well, I don't know if I should talk about this, or I don't know if it's appropriate, or I don't know how people can understand it the right way, or whatever. And so I hedge, so I don't do it. I make an excuse for myself to not do a live stream. And he's going, nah, you know. And I did. I stepped back. I was like, Brian's doing a good job, and people are talking about stuff, and everybody's interacting. And now he's telling me, yeah, Hawkeye, you got to help pick up the slack, because I'm the one that got him started. Not to brag about this, because I'm humbled by the whole damn thing, quite frankly, everybody. I am humbled I was his friend. I am humbled that he was one of my subscribers, still is, but I'm humbled at the fact that we've had the opportunity, although we didn't meet, we've had the opportunity to share with each other and with you, hopefully things that make us all a little better. It helps with our frequency. It helps to understand the universe just a little bit more. And it's very, 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 very hard to say, well, we won't see him anymore. And he's reiterating that he's always just a thought away. Even later on when he gets to go to the deep end of the pool, if you will. In other words, there's a bigger transition. As a Catholic, and he's kind of poked me about this, as a Catholic, we're taught that if you're either, if you're a saint, you go straight to heaven. And then there's this purgatory thing, you got to wait around and hang out for the second coming, and Jesus is going to come. Well, but there's something correct about the purgatory, but it's not because you weren't good enough to get into heaven. It's that you got to get used to the new life form. You got to get used to being a spirit again. And so if you ice cold water and know what that shock feels like, think about it. He said, yeah, well, that was a trip. But the idea, though, that we must prepare ourselves, we got to wade into that cold water so that our bodies and our senses get used to it. I don't really like cold water, but I'm too many times of almost dying of hypothermia from water. But anyway, but in this, that regardless of what we do it honorably. Now, these are my words, not his. That it is honorable the way he treated the people on his shows. It is honorable the way he gave so many people wrenches, and how he trusted you all, and how much he felt that you were his family, and he was a part of your family, and that we are a family. Whether we ever shake hands or have let's all have coffee and thank Bob. Bob has been jumping around a little bit tonight. Bob, we love you. Here's some coffee for Michelle and all y'all. Let's thank Bob. And cheers to Brian, too, who always got a kick out of some of this stuff I came up with and we came up with. He loved it. He's sitting here laughing and giggling. Yeah, he wanted me to do this tonight, kick me in the shins. I mean, I was so jittery before I started doing this. You have no idea. Both in that, and I know this sounds stupid, but do I have the right to speak about Brian? And he's like, well, hell yeah. Of all the conversations we had online, of all the sharings and the things that we talked about, he's like, well, hell yeah, you can talk about me. Because I ain't got nothing bad to say about him. You know, I got to say that he was my hero, still is, in that he took that frequency with him. He was in search of it, whether or not he's he could have used a little finer tuning is what I'm at the moment. But the thing is that it is about the frequency. We can't get in unless we are tuned. And each one of us got to find our own vibrational area. But it's all, how do I put this? It's a universal, thank you. It's a universal frequency. And it's like, 104 on your radio FM dial, And if you're higher or lower, if you're higher than that, but you got to be able to reach 104, and I'm just throwing that out there because Gulf 104 is a Tallahassee radio station. But anyway, so it's 104. So, and if you don't get to 104, you might be close to it and kind of hear it fuzzy, on the radio stations. But that, if you don't have the frequency, then you got to hang around until you kind of catch up on the other side. It's much harder and heavier, okay? Because he's saying drop all the negative because it's heavy. And it makes sense. Depression weighs us down. And, we must think of our hearts as being light as a feather. And that, feathers, some feathers can, do this twirl thing. And on the end, speaking of feathers, this is one I found about a week ago. Interesting time. Right in the backyard. But with the heavy end, it'll drop rather quickly. But I've got another one over here that's not quite as heavy. And it's more like a pin feather. So this one floats down. See? So both are feathers, but neither one of them will float at the same value. Okay? So, but the analogy is that we are all feathers in the universe. Interesting way to put it there, brother. That we're all feathers in the universe, but when we can make ourselves actually light as a feather and float upon the universe, and I understand that because I use water more as an analogy than air, but this feather thing it's a good one. Let's chat. We'll chalk that one up to Brian B sitting here with me. So the conversation though of each of us, because it is birds in flight. It's how we learn to fly in the air, and so when we make this transition, we're going to be floating more than swimming. But it's also analogous to water in that we're swimming in the universe, but we're also floating and flying. And if we can float like a feather and take the currents of the universe and ride them, like I have mentioned, think of yourself in an inner tube and you'll never sink. You'll just float along. You'll take the waves, the high ones, the low ones, and you'll get along. And he said, yeah, that's still a valid point. Um, so some of the things that I have talked about, and he's saying that with all this other confusion and things, that there are things that I need to go back into, things that he and I had talked about, that well, in a month we're going to bring that back up and see how everybody feels about that, or we're gonna revisit this topic in a little while, and we never got a chance to. But he says he'll come by and pester me once in a while he's in training. We love you, brother. We do. Yeah, this was a hard start on this particular video, and I am invited Brian to come and sit with me, and like, okay, what's it like on the other side? Well, I've kind of been in that middle transition, so that's why a lot of times I'm able to discuss how it feels. I've been near death too many times, with being operated on and dying of other stuff. But he made the whole transition. He went the whole way. And it's shocking as hell when you first get there. But anyway, but yes, Brian is my hero, absolutely. He's like, man, no, shut up. But you are, man. He's my hero because of what I stated earlier. Now, for those latecomers, I'll sort of repeat some of the stuff I discussed earlier. And it's that why is he my hero? Because he became an honorable person. His fight against the good and the light and the darkness, he chose to fight against the darkness. He chose, whether he was a Christian or it had nothing to do with it. And one of the subjects I need to bring up, David Castle, greetings to you, my friend. Greetings to everybody. I think, Aaron, let me put my glasses on for a minute. Slightly slanted sleuth. Hey, it's good to see you all. Truth in me. Maverick. Keeping it real. Hi, how are you? Aaron Johnson. Cherry, how are you? Anybody else I missed? Aaron, Teresa. I think I got everybody. Okay. Okay, so, but anyway, but he's explaining to me now that there are some of these things distracted, that we need to be reminded once in a while. Not so much that it, pound this in your head, that it's like, oh, we need to remember, certain things, and like honor. And I'm the one that came up with the hero part in the title tonight. And because I'm always looking for inspiration, and it was like I had 2 or 3 titles that kept going around and around, and this one was like, no, Brian B., my hero, died with honor, in my humble opinion. And the honor of an officer, or the honor of a warrior, the honor of a person to stick to it, stick with it. And regardless of his back pain and other issues, and God knows I had no idea he had kind of heart issues, but the fact that any one of us can be taken at any point in time should just give us cause to say, wait a minute, I just must be prepared. That's all. It's not that we should fear it, be scared of it, or whatever. I would have traded places easily. But he said, no, I know I still got work to do here, for myself and for other people. And He's yelling in my ear. It's my communication skills, my ability to talk with folks. Okay. But he could too, but sometimes he had trouble finding words. That's why I always got a kick out of it when we were doing a live stream and I would come up with stuff. Yeah, I was just going to ask you that. Yeah, I know. Well, I was just going to, yeah, I know. And you all that were on, a part of those videos probably remember some of those incidents. So in that, I'm a precog in certain ways. And that's why I'm saying that Brian and I had a connection, I think, from all the mushrooms, and he's giggling over here about all the drugs we did. But um, there was also a psychic connection between us. I've known people and they were close and everything, but didn't quite have this thing that I could like pick up what they were thinking ahead of time and then broach the subject, which it always freaked Brian out. He said over laughing, but anyway, so I'm saying that why am I even explaining this? It's because of some of the things that happened live stream and why do I feel like I'm not channeling him? No, he's sitting here, having a conversation in my ear. And I just know it's him. That's all I can tell you, I don't quite understand. It's something about people wanting to know or ask questions. It's I'm not quite sure. Anyway, something about don't worry about asking questions of him. Ask questions from the universe and allow your heart to accept it. Thank you. And I would say the same thing. I mean, now, like, for example, I was thinking about this the other day and sort of before I found out about Brian. But in the Catholic Church, for example, or, Christianity, what makes a saint? What makes them so special that people want to pray to them? Well, back in the day, maybe these people like St. Francis, the real St. Francis, not the guy that's supposed to be Pope, but that these people were actually holy beings, that they walked in truth and light and did the best they could. And they weren't extraordinary people. They were just people. And that they worked for one purpose, and that was to do as much good as possible. And it didn't mean about trying to save the world, but saving one individual or helping one person or doing the videos that he did. And all y'all have been the testament to that. Then, if it weren't for Brian's video or having a thing, and you all have said that to me too, that I was having a bad day or whatever, and we got a chance to share and be a part of the community. So in my own shortcomings, I'm like, why should I do a video? I don't matter. No, but you do. And I have to take myself out of the equation. That's why tonight I was so fidgety. I did not want to do this video now. But, I'm okay with it now. I got over the jittery part and calmed down a little bit. But friend is always just a thought away. Just as you all are just a thought away. The prayers that I know I've gotten from some of you, and the good wishes and flowers and good thoughts. And I had no idea that so many of you were worried about whether or not I knew about Brian and your concern. And I just got to say, that overwhelmed me. I mean, it still brings tears to my eyes right now, because I do this, because I'm prompted and supposed to. And then I realized that, oh my God, my own family members don't know me like you folks do, and you care more about me than and whether or not I'm okay or whatever. And it's like, oh my God, blessings to all of you. And I honestly do pray for each and every one of you. And I try each and every day. Some days are a little foggier than others, but anytime I'm awake, I'm running down the list and you all are on it. No, and I'm not Santa Claus. That was a joke. He's not Santa Claus, no, but he's got a beard and he's getting old. And maybe I should build a sleigh. Who knows? Crystal, Michelle, Delaney, I don't know if I said hello to you. Aurora, David Castle, I think I said hi. Blessings to all of you. But anyway, but if anything, one of the things that, and this is my thought, and he's like, I don't tell him, but I do. I think I need to say this. We have an emissary at the moment, and we'll be there until further notice. We have an emissary on the other side. And he's like, don't even compare me to being a saint. No, I'm not. But my point is to what makes a person a saint. It's that the people who knew this person saw goodness or light or something. And so their prayers, because they had known this person, and it just got carried on through religion and, St. Francis, St. Christopher, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So in my little world, he's not happy with what I'm going to say here. Let me tell you. In my world, he is a saint because he's made the passage successfully at the moment. And so if I'm going to, quote, pray to someone, meaning more that if I can be assured of knowing, how do I know it's Brian? Because I knew a lot of noise up on the road at this time of night. I knew, like I knew when we were doing the videos and coming up with things, his thinking before he said it, that kind of thing. I know it's him because of that. It's the same connection that I had with him. So everything is nonsense up to making the transition. Everything we see in our life, this is what he's telling me. Everything is nonsense. All the questions, well, what about this and what about that? And when you cross over, none of that shit matters. What matters is our frequency. That is the key, our frequency. And we do the best we can, but if someone can't accept our help or don't want our help or whatever, it's not for us to argue or fight, because when they die, they're going to have to deal with their own. When I passed, when he passed, we all had our own frequency we had to go through to get there. So whether he was worried about all of us, as I am worried about all of you. Worried in the sense that, will you understand and get it? And, so that your frequency, regardless of when that moment comes, you'll be as prepared as possible, And that's, of all the messages he says he can give, that's it. And even in his death, be the frequency you want to be. So his choice was to be a better frequency. His choice, that's why he's my hero. He don't like that. That's why he's my hero. And that's also why I consider it and full-heartedly believe he died an honorable man. Regardless of what he may have done before, regardless of any personal, that's not my point. But his life had changed in that his Milky Way messenger. What am I going to discuss? How we can all be better and how we can all learn that, how we can, you know what I mean? And I don't think you all need convincing of this. And this isn't about me trying to convince you of anything. This is my discussion with my friend and you all, in that I know I'm going to say it again, why he is my hero. And that my point about having a an ambassador on the other side. Because it's not that we should pray to Brian or that we should offer homage, although I did burn some sage before I started to help calm the area and clear out all the other spirits. And he and I would burn sage at his end, my end at the same time before we would come on to bless ourselves and do a good show. And so I did that before I did this show. And he's like, yeah, thank you. And that is an honorable thing. So in the honor that I continue to do, whether I speak about it or not, I lit the sage in his honor. Okay. So when I quote, have a thought or how's it going on the other side there, Brian boy, I've got a voice that I'm familiar with that, I can trust because we've had a bond in this world, in this plane. And our emissary has moved to the other side, and our connection hasn't faltered. If anything, it's a little stronger now. I've been kind of cloudy the last few days, but I'm not here to convince you. But I do know that from my own experience and now from, this experience with Brian and so forth, and all of you, that it really is important what we do. It is important because for every chance, for every time we can say blessings to the other person. I was watching a movie earlier trying to be distracted. It did not work. But there was a soldier who he had a sidearm, but it was pointed down. He didn't have his finger on the trigger kind of thing, but he was walking by these native folks in Iraq or Afghanistan, somewhere with a desert. And it wasn't the Southwest, but he said, peace be upon you as he walked along the road. And I thought, now that's interesting because in the real life, what did Jesus do? He said, peace be upon you. Now, and in a way, he don't like the fact that I'm not comparing you to Jesus. That's not my point. But I am comparing the walking. Okay. When we walk with peace and share it with other people, yes, we are walking in the steps of enlightenment. He don't like me comparing him. I'm not comparing you to Jesus. Trust me. But we all have the Christ spirit in us if we choose to use it. We all have that light. We are all members of the League of Like-Minded Beings. And so simply because he's out of body at the moment, they may have a new mission for him. That's interesting. Yeah, well, I've been reincarnated a few times, as many of us have. And it's time for us to, to continue the good fight and to be honorable when we do it. Now, there's been circumstances, a friend of mine, blamed me for something and a blah, blah, blah. And it took years for that animosity to go away on her part. And I was like, but wait a minute, I didn't do what you said I did. But anyway, got confused. But to the point, though, I was like, well, wait a minute now. Regardless of what it is, does it matter now? And the answer was no. So it only mattered then and more to her than me, but not the point. The bottom line of it is that over time, certain things, unless we carry them forward, don't matter any longer. And that's sort of the point he was trying to make earlier, Brian, is that none of this stuff matters when we pass over. None of what we have in this life matters. None of it. What matters is the frequency we are at that point. And that should be our single strife. We can help people along the way. We can do good things, and that is honorable. And we should not worry about whether or not we're going to go like that, because it isn't going to matter. If we do go like that, then maybe it's because we're needed. Our spirit has learned enough. Now, I'm an old goat. They're going to keep me here for a while because I'm a good storyteller, and I'm still searching. I'm still a shaman in training. There was someone who in a chat or something, well, you think you're such a. I don't think I'm anything. I'm still learning here, y'all. And I will continue to seek the knowledge and to understand it in a way that somehow in my conversations with y'all, I can explain it and something will touch your soul, not for my benefit, for yours. Now, I do have a particular purpose. Of all the things that I could be, I want to die an honorable man. I've done some crappy things in my life, not like murder or anything like that. Although they're close to a time or two, but self-abuse, they're just stuff. I just want to be worthy enough as a human being. I don't want to be on a postcard anywhere or anything like that, but I want to be honorable. I don't want to die a schmuck or a sleaze or a dirt bag, No, I don't. I know my soul has stains from my previous things, and it's not about so much as to correcting the karma in the past, because there's a bunch of stuff I did in a previous life, and I've realized in this life there ain't no way I could make up for all that. But how I make up for it is to be honorable in this life. I can't make up for it. And it's stupid that I even wasted my time thinking that. The karma thing, well, we got to pay it back. But what we can do is be honorable from this point forward. And Brian agrees. And although he's like, okay, he never was one for the compliments, and neither am I. There are folks who give me compliments, and I feel so humbled by it all. And I still do. And thank you, Truth in Me. Cosmic hugs. Cosmic hugs. And you know what I mean? See, so words aren't even necessary at times. It's a look, it's a thought, it's a feeling, it's what you send out to the universe. Brian says he's there as a thought, but silly questions are just silly questions. And sometimes we'll ask the dumbest things. Well, what's it like on the other side? We can't comprehend it. There are things that we can get close to. Well, what's this? What's that? Be practical, he says, in asking your questions. He's not a saint, but he is a part of our family that has passed on. And as Milky Way messenger, he still has messages. Stay connected to the universe and keep your mind open. Keep your thoughts open. Keep your heart open. And do the right thing and be honorable in all that you do. So, my friends, I think I've carried on with this enough. And yeah, Brian says that's about it for him on his side. Let me see what you got. Aaron says that's why I'm here, to learn and grow and remember. Thank you, humble and proud. I thank you. But I feel so humbled by all of this. I really don't feel that I'm qualified for this but that's okay. That's one of the things he's telling me. You got to get rid of that mess. Just have confidence in yourself. And I tell you all to do that. But there's a lot of times when I don't have enough confidence myself, and I have to muster it up. You see me and I'm talking about something, but you may not know that I spent 3 or 4 days in anguish, literally, about a certain subject or whatever, and how difficult it may be to try to bring it out and make it coherent in some way, shape, or form. Anyway, but with that said, he sends his love always, and that he says that without you all, it would have been harder for him in the transition. Take comfort in that. And his next other message to you all, and I would agree with this, but he knows more than I do on this subject now, that there are many of you that are on the right track, and you got to have the confidence to stick with it. Another thing, don't become so pig-headed with, I don't know who this is meant for, but don't be so pig-headed about certain things in that you can't accept anything new. At least to consider whether or not you believe it or not. I don't know who that's meant for. But to the point though, I went through pig-headed stages myself where you just, well, I know about that. I don't need to know anything more. Well, maybe you should listen a little more. Maybe there's still a little bit of something that is not so much to teach you, but to remind you, or as Aaron said, to remember. So there are lots of things for us to remember. So questions and answer period, maybe another time. Brian sends his love, and I always do. And cosmic hugs to all y'all. I got to go to the little boy's room, and this is the last couple of days and going through this and trying to understand and put my own feelings and so forth into perspective. A lot of shit happening around here lately, and not necessarily all of it good, but we get through. We do the best we can. So my friends, I do love you. Let me see who else. Keeping it real, David. You tell us, because you need it too. That's true. That is true. And there are so many times when I consider and just waller around in my own quagmire, or turn on the computer and go, hey, let's have a discussion. Teresa Hakwai, you are qualified with life experience and lessons learned. Your gift is inspiration. Thank you. And your participation is inspiration for me to keep listening and to keep sharing. I wouldn't do this without you guys and gals and folks and spirits and stuff. And if my hero, Brian, I wouldn't have done it, but he would coax me, call me, hey, let's do a show. Well, okay. And so he was a blessing to me in that respect, and our friendship will never end. And he's saying, and I don't doubt this, he's saying that we've had previous lives together, and because we know each other too well. He and I have been brothers before, and I'm probably brothers in arms, and trying to save the world from corruption and evil and wicked, mean and bad and nasty. So and that our souls will meet again. When I make my transition, we'll continue the good fight in whatever other reality I move into. But with that said, though, understand that there's so much other information out there in the universe. And as you always hear me say, accept and receive the knowledge, the wisdom, and the teachings from the universe, because there's a lot of stuff out there that the more you get yourself in tune and listen, that answers will come and stuff will come to you. But you got to be able to go, wait a minute now, I never thought of that. Well, but science says this. Now, for example, there's a comet going around the sun, and they're still touting this dirty snowball thing. Bananas, bullshit, bananas. They ain't snowballs, but still, they keep telling us that comets are snowballs. So, even though they landed a spacecraft on one, and even though they pinged it and they couldn't find any ice or snow, but all comets are made of ice and snow. So, do you believe that what they're telling you? I still don't. So, you have to take stuff with a grain of salt. And trust me, I used to believe that crap. I studied astronomy. I've got telescopes, one there and one over here. I'm probably going to go out and look at Saturn and Jupiter, because it's fairly clear night tonight when I get done here with y'all. Have to look into the Milky Way, literally. But I found some star clusters, and I'm like, that's interesting. And to just give you a little bit of, while I still got you, there's been a recent Earth wobble. And I mean within this last week. The moon was really low on the horizon for this last full moon. It's been being up overhead, and you've heard me talk about this, but it's been so cloudy and overcast and stuff down here and other things. I haven't done an Earth wobble, but let me tell you, the moon has moved the width of a hand extended in the course of the last 5 days, like a finger a night going higher. It's the other night I could only see it through one window, and because it was so low, I had to go outside to see the moon. Tonight I'm looking at a window and it's higher than the window, and I got to lean down to look up. 5 days. But for the last several weeks, the moon's been real low in the sky, and it's pretty much maintained that. Now, all of a sudden, and also the Scorpion, Antares is a bright star to the south, and it's got a tail, and then it comes out in a 3 like this, and then it points right to Libra, which is my constellation for September. But I've noticed that it was higher or lower on the trees the other night. I could barely see it. Now it's high, and it's also the way it's been pointing. It was pointing down, and Scorpio's not supposed to have that. Scorpio. Anyway, it ain't supposed to do this number. And tonight it was way high in the sky and pointing more up like this. So there's some weird rolling around with the Earth at the moment. And it's sort of calmed down for the last month or so. Moon hasn't moved much. The stars have been pretty much in the same location. But in the last 5 days, just saying, so y'all be, and we've gotten some, there was a big CME the other day. I'm not sure if it hit us or not, but there's stuff going on in the universe. So just wanted to throw that in there with y'all. Well, Teresa, Delaney, as always, Truth in Me. Join the Discord. I'm going to have to try to do that. I used to be very computer literate. I mean, I used to write programs in BASIC way back in the day. I used to write programs in an AutoCAD Lisp. I've even worked in some other program. But with the damage to my brain that happened, all of that information, it really is difficult for me to go into the computer and like I was trying to do something in the YouTube thing. They changed the whole YouTube dashboard and stuff. Now I go in there and I go, what the hell is all this? Where I used to be able to go over here and click on that. So I'm very slow these days with things that I used to be able to pick up like that. I'm trying to do better. But so some things I might need help with, well, like with the Discord thing. I was part of Discord at one time. So, and I would love to participate. Okay. And I talked with somebody the other day about, I want to do the Zoom thing and start interviewing you folk. And I don't want to say, but he says it. Yeah, I kind of sort of want to pick up where he left off. Not in the same vein. I'm older and don't have enough brain power to do certain things, but I'm going to do my best to try to invite folk on. But I might quite frankly need for some of you, one of you, to help walk me through it to get me set up. Okay. I am a little part of my brain has been banged a little bit too hard. So, but I would love to participate. He's saying I should, but yeah, I should, because it's important. If anybody has the book that Brian was reading, him and Trina, I never asked for it because he was overwhelmed with it. But if you know of somebody that has a copy of it, I would like to pick up wherever he left off. And so, but I don't have a copy, so I can't. So my email address is dwnull52@gmail.com. Okay. It's all lowercase, dwnull52@gmail.com. If you have one of those PDF books or whatever, please send me a copy of it. And I will go back through, and with y'all's help, I would gladly pick up where he left off. And there's some other things that I have been working on in my little off time, and that's that. Um, I've got the medicine cards, and that I've got some items at my disposal, and that I should pick a card once a day or once a week or something like that, or maybe whenever it feels necessary. But to try to be more, um, what well, I say what the ancients taught, what native peoples felt and learned, and animal things and medicine wheels and just general. Um, but to help us to continue to learn how to increase our frequency, for us to learn how we can continue to connect with the universe, and to help us to learn how to connect with the to understand the frequencies and all of the above. So what'd you write in there? Let me see. Yeah, forming in multiple galaxies, including Milky Way. Uh, there are people on Discord off and on all day to chat with Hawkeye. Don't get in a funk if you start to feel isolated. It's just an attachment, brother. Yeah, I don't really. The funk is, it's connected to a bunch of stuff, David. I mean, it just is. And it's not just Brian or that thing. There are all these other factions that are somehow connected, intertwined in the universe. And that's what sort of got me in a funk. And the fact that there are days when I just can't wake up, and the things that I have that I want to do is like, well, 2 or 3 days later, I look around and go, crap, where was I? That's disconcerting to me in a way, but and makes me want to give up. Just screw it. But I don't. Those conversations are really short these days. Well, maybe we should quit doing this. Shut up. I was out digging in the yard today and doing some other stuff, even in the heat, even though I shouldn't have been. But oh, I see. There are different people. Okay, right. I got you. Greetings and favor. Which book? Teresa says the one that the book that Brian was reading aloud. I can't remember the name of it, but anyway, um, Teresa has the PDF. Thank you. Oh, you got one of them, Teresa? Okay. Lowercase DWNULL 52, the year I was born, at gmail.com. That's my and it should be on the front page of the YouTube thing, so it's not like it's hidden. But anyway, if you would shoot that to me, I'll try to find out where we left off, and I'll try to my best to pick back up where he left off with it. Now, I may not be able to share the screen and all that. I'm going to check in with doing Zoom, which I should have been doing already, but I've been wanting to invite other people to have conversation, because I can ask some of the weirdest questions and go down some really strange rabbit holes that yeah, Brian sitting over, he damn sure can, man. But but I would like to be able to um, poke at y'all, and say, well, ask you a question directly. And as we have the conversation, and the spirit moves me sometime, I go, well, what do you think about that? Or how does this make you feel? Anyway, but I would love to have you guys on at some point, group, just whatever. But like I said, my brain issues and so forth, I'm a little slow these days, but I will keep working on it. And I'm quite frankly, I'm going to be asking my friend Brian to help me out from the other side. Um, if he is my brother and brother and brother, and although I'm going to miss the fact that I can't go camping with him in Arkansas, but if I ever get back to Arkansas, I know he's going to be with me. He says it's cool there. Yeah, I know. But there was just some place I would love to show y'all. It's called Indian Roundhouse near Buffalo Point on the Buffalo River. And that's one of the most sacred places I've ever been to. And not that I've been to a lot, but oh man, is it a special place? I'm here to tell you. And it's just right inside of the side of a mountain. There's a spring. It's just unreal. But anyway, so I'll quit this right now. I love you all. I do. Got another discussion that, with any luck, I'm going to try to. I don't want to take over Brian's place. That's not it. But he goes, yeah, but well, I had a 10 o'clock slot, so take it. But I always did stuff at 11 o'clock or 11:30. I'd wait till Brian got done with his show, and in respect. And I felt his stuff was more, important. And any of y'all, that's why it's so, and say it in the chat, you know, shameless plug. I'll be on in a half an hour. But anyway, I love you all. I do. And if you need any people to come on your shows to float thoughts or ideas, just ask. Practice makes perfect. Thank you, David. You're one of the people I'd like to have a chat with. Delaney, David, you're something like me. I love you. I do. Truth in Me says, I know that Robert V wants to read the book. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, Aaron, in this, think about this too. Brian's not gone. He's just not in our realm. So much like my granny, that I have a connection with for all these years, even though she's passed from this realm, she's still there. My friend Hoyt that died years ago in a car accident, he's still with me. And there are people that I've known who were spiritual that we had a connection that I didn't have with everybody. But because I had the connection in this realm, I'm still connected when they're in the other realm. So with that said, though, that's why I feel. But he's only dead to the 3D reality. But he's just passed on. So don't think of it as death. It's death to us because we can't reach out and touch him like we might have could before. In a way, though, he's actually more accessible than he was before. So tune in. Be the frequency you want to be. That's coming from him. But he's sitting over here laughing and going, he can't believe it. But, anyway, I could mush on like this for 2 more hours, and it isn't any purpose in that per se. But Robert V, Aaron, all y'all, yeah, you're welcome, Aaron. And, for those of you who've been around me long enough, you know that how we use words. So, for the life of me, I didn't want to put anything died, death, or anything in the title of this, but I was like, no, because he died from this realm, 3D, with honor, and passed into the other realm. So in that, I spent a day and a half just worrying about a title to this video. Seriously. So, but I realized that I had to put it in there that died. But do I think he's dead? No, he's passed on. So our references, if we say that he's dead, that's the end of it. But if we say that he's passed on, life continues. So, well, he died. Yes, I had to put that. He died with honor from this realm to put him into the next realm. So, but I don't feel like I should discuss him who's sitting right next to me as being dead. Okay. He has passed on to the next realm, which we're all going to do. We know, well, some of us believe it, some of us don't, but it is our job. And he's kind of stating this, that we must pass this on gently to other people. And I've been talking about this too, but he's reiterating certain things at the moment. And my connection is I'm getting tired. It's been a long couple of days with trying to connect and understand and bring a good positive twist to this. As much as I have been bawling my eyes out, that damn it, man, I wanted to go fishing with you. I wanted to go, kayaking with you, and maybe I'll get a chance to go do it with some of you. I'm still down here in South Georgia. Trailer's still in the yard. I still got all these kayaks and things. So, the offer's still open, but I just don't travel much. So if any of y'all still in the mood and want to come to South Georgia, North Florida, well, the offer's still open. Maybe not right now. Let's wait till the weather cools down, But anyway, in honor of our dear friend Brian, who has passed over and who's not dead, we'll just keep that in mind. Because he is alive in our hearts, whether we believe it or not. He's alive in our hearts if we keep him there. And so he didn't die. He just made the transition. We've got our own little, he'll get the joke, our own little saint. He don't like the idea of little either. but we've got our own envoy. We've got our ambassador on the other side that we have all had a connection with. And so that we still have that connection if we allow it. So keep that in mind, my friends. He loves you all. I love you all. I do. Cosmic hugs, my friends. Pass on the information that you can, and we'll get together. Just know that if you don't hear from me in a couple of days, God forbid I'm still here, but I'm going to try to figure this out, to have conversation with y'all. If you help, David Castle says, if you help one person along their path, then it's all worth it. You can start a domino effect. Absolutely. That can change the reality you're in and change their reality and the overall reality. I believe that, David. Absolutely. Like any main character of any good movie comes down to two believing in you. Teresa, he ascended with honor. I think so. Beautifully stated. Thank you, David Castle. I love you back, Michelle. Delaney, I got a video of Brian flying around in my hallway. Who's seen it? I haven't. I'll have to try to check it out, Delaney. But anyway, so whether or not you believe he's been sitting with me this last hour or so, but I know in my heart, and I know he's had his hand on my shoulder a couple of times to help me to stay calm to be able to do this video. So we still love him. He's not dead. He's just passed on. We'll close this video and we'll try to get together and do, whether Robert V does it, go for it, Robert. I don't want to hold anybody back and say, well, Dave said he might do it. I do want to do it. We'll see what we can do. And if we can do it somehow together in his honor, with his honor, okay. But expect that I'm going to try somehow to pick up the 10 o'clock slot with Brian's help. He said he'll come sit with me and help me bring up some topics and help me through this. So Brian is still with us, my friends, and I'm going to try to help out in the 10 o'clock slot. So don't know what day, just know that the 10 o'clock slot for y'all, I'm going to try to be there with something a little more often than I have lately. And he's going to be kicking me in the ribs to do it. God, I was frantic earlier. You have no idea. I was shaking. I was like this, But you all and him and the presence of the Great Spirit and all of this. Mary Wins, Michelle, Delaney, David Castle, Teresa, Aaron. I said Delaney. Delaney says, check your Facebook timeline. Yeah, Michelle says, thank you, Brian, for being with Hawkeye. He's with y'all, but he's, I'm just the voice, I guess. Love you too, Mary Wins. Thank you so much. And everybody. So let's close this out after an hour and 34 minutes. I continue to pray that each and every day, and I do mean this, that each and every one of you will learn to accept, receive the knowledge, the wisdom, and the healing from the universe. I continue to pray each and every day that each and every one of you will continue to learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, And now we have an emissary on the other side who will whisper sweet nothings in your ear. He's laughing his ass off over here, but anyway. But and I continue to pray that each and every one of you, your friends, your family, all of your relatives, and all of your relations, past, present, and to come, will learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the wisdom, and the healing from the universe, and continue to share it. See, Brian started something. He says I started him to start it. Great. It's the snowball. It's what David said. One person has an effect on another. Look at the effect we've had on each other in these past months, years that you and I and we have gotten together and been a part of this community. I know I feel more richer spiritually than I did before. I know I feel more whole spirit wise because we share. We're not picking on one another. There's no infighting or whatever. And we're all looking out for the other folk to try to, hey, what may be right for you may not be right for me, but we do share this common thing. And if you think Brian's gone, change your thought pattern. He ain't gone. He's just on the other side. And he's only a thought away, my friends. And maybe he can come sit with you, but you know, I still love him. I loved him before, and I love you all for who you are, and the fact that you are heroes as well. Now I know somebody's going to say, "Well, Dave, you know, you're the guru." Thank you. I'm so humbled by that. I'm just here to have a conversation. You folks are the real heroes. He is my hero. And he did pass on with honor, in my humble opinion. And it don't matter what else's opinion. In my heart, in my soul, I love you, my brother. And he made it with honor because of his past deeds and what he was presently working on. And I can only hope that I can get this close to what he did. That's how I feel about it. That's how humbled I am over this entire experience. I am humbled beyond, I mean, my heart hurts right there. It does. I got to go walk around or do something. But anyway, I love you. So until next time, maybe tomorrow night, I got a subject about religion versus spirituality that's been ringing around for a while, and it needs to be discussed, especially since our friend has made the transition. I love you all. Thank you, Bob, for not having the jumpy screen. Thank all of you, Truth in Me, all y'all, David Castle. I'll find out about Discord, and Teresa, if you send me that PDF, God love you. So until next time, keep it between the ditches, my friends. And as always, cheers. For those of you who understand, it's going to get bumpy in the future. Put your inner tubes on. TTFN, Ween from South Georgia. Thank you, Bob. And here's some coffee. Till next time, bring the donuts. We love you, we do. And until next time, Brian says, y'all be safe. Be the frequency you want to be. Yep, he's just a thought away. He absolutely is. TTFN. It won't stop. There it goes. I've been trying to shut this thing off for the last 2 minutes. Anyway, I love you guys and gals. Till next time, be safe. Cheers.